because if she could do it, I can do it. Yeah, if she's able to push forward while still being a slave and do all these things, what's stopping me from being able to do it? So yeah.
That's a powerful legacy.
Yeah. Second thing is going to schools, allowing people to see a glimpse of what she would be doing. Yeah, Nancy Green, most people would know by a different name, which would be Aunt Jemima. But Aunt Jemima is not an actual person. The actual person is Nancy Green.
I'm Dr. Owen Carryl, member of the Acts 2 Seventh-day Adventist Church in Plano, Texas. I'm sitting here with my pastor, Pastor Marcus Hayes, the senior pastor of our church, and the CEO of the Nancy Green Foundation. And I thought we'll just have a conversation to learn more about Nancy Green and the foundation. Now, tell me, who is Nancy Green?
Yeah, Nancy Green, most people would know by a different name, which would be Aunt Jemima. But Aunt Jemima is not an actual person. The actual person is Nancy Green. Nancy Green is my great aunt. So my brothers and I are the living descendants of her. Okay. Most people know her by the Pancake Queen or Aunt Jemima.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get to her as the Pancake Queen, Aunt Jemima, tell me a little about her early days.
Sure.
I mean, a little about her early life.
Yeah, she was born in Montgomery County, Kentucky in 1834. She was born a slave. She was born slave to the Walker family. So she would live in Montgomery in early years, and the Walker family would eventually move to Chicago. And that's where things start to take off, because she was the nanny for the children of the Walker family. Yeah.
That's interesting. And what was she doing as just nanny? Because how do we connect nanny to Aunt Jemima, which is a cook,
correct,
a person creating recipes? So what's the connection there?
If we would be transparent, a nanny back then would be somebody, specifically somebody of color, was somebody who did everything. She was the person who washed the clothes, who did all the cooking, who took care of the children. So this was her role in the Walker home. So cooking, of course, is something that's going to be a part of what she is, who she is, because that's something that she does on a daily basis.
Yes. So how does she move from being this cook within the Walker family? Right. This was a prominent family,
correct,
right?
Very prominent family.
But how did she move from there to become the face of Aunt Jemima?
Yeah, so at that time, she was very, very well known from the boys. The Walker family had two sons. One would end up becoming a judge, and one would be a lawyer, a physician, I'm sorry. Yeah. And so there was a specific dish that she would cook that they loved, and that dish was called flapjacks. And at this time, this was something that the kids really loved, and they would eventually spread the word, and things would start to take off like a wildfire. And there was this milling company that wasn't doing well, that she used part of the flour, their flour, and added some other ingredients that would then make flapjacks.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, it gets to the place where this milling company would seek her out. As they sought her out, made her the face of the pancakes, and then she would grow by doing things like the World Fairs. Is really where you start to get to understand who Aunt Jemima is. Yeah. And if I can put it in my own words, Aunt Jemima at that time was a name that wasn't necessarily derogatory. It was known in the household of people of color as someone like your grandmother. So they used that name, Aunt Jemima, and that's where the flapjacks and pancakes start to take off.
So this milling company comes to her.
Right.
They like her product. She's using their flour, but now they have an opportunity to make this big.
Correct.
So you said she's going to these fairs, being the face, promoting their product.
Correct.
So they're getting a financial benefit from this, right?
Huge. Yes.
I'm assuming she got a lot of that financial benefit as well.
I would challenge that. I would challenge that.
Yeah.
You got to think about this is in the 1800s. People of color was not in the position to be able to sign contracts, demand their worth. They are literally using what they have to become who they were. So for her, if an African American man wasn't considered a full human, imagine what an African American woman would be considered. Now, there's debates on what she would get paid, but we have evidence because of how she died. She was poor. Yeah, she was poor.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seemed to be a theme
Yeah.
around those days.
Correct.
You look back, there's so many other inventors.
Right.
Who, again, the whole thing about inventions, you get royalty from your invention.
Yep.
It seems like she was not the beneficiary of such royalty. If you said she passed away and
Yeah.
died.
Yes, that's not one of the deals that she would have. In fact, you would see through history that once she dies, they just keep replacing her. So up until maybe the late 1900s, around about 1960s, 70s, you start to see about 4 different women portraying the woman of Aunt Jemima, although Nancy Green was the first Aunt Jemima. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned she would go around to these world fairs and demonstrate, doing demo of these the pancakes.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she went to most of them. I did a little reading up, but
Okay.
it sounds like she didn't go to one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The one in Paris or something like
Yeah.
that.
So she's went. There were 9. She only missed one. Part of her persona and how she was able to sell was that she would tell stories. She would tell stories about her heritage, her lineage, and how she grew up. The story of even African Americans while still flipping and making flapjacks. It's reported that in the first World Fair, she sold over 50,000 boxes.
Oh.
So imagine during this time when the United States is really trying to make a name for itself, the world knows the United States at this time because of what she's doing with flapjacks. So now pancake starts to take off, and they're starting to be worldwide and known. She would do this, of course, with 8 world fairs, but she wouldn't go to Paris because she was, I would say, afraid to cross the water. People of color, the first time we crossed the water wasn't a good one, so I can imagine how adamant she was about not crossing the water again.
As a relative of Nancy Green, and I want to get to your heart,
Sure.
how did this make you feel when you learned, okay, this is a part of my heritage. It has some a nice story, but it also has a sad, somewhat ending.
Correct.
That I know as CEO of the foundation, you want to at least address.
Yeah.
Right? But tell me how it personally made you feel. What were your real feelings when you learned, okay, this is a part of my my history and heritage, but also I learned about not just the good things, is in that she died and her grave was unmarked for a number of years.
Correct.
How did that make you?
Yeah, so I believe, my brothers and I, we had this conversation, and we have mixed feelings. On one end, you're proud, right? Because you're able to see that you come from a lineage of people who did what they had to do to try to make the best out of their situations. You see a couple of strengths that maybe you thought you lacked, but exist in your ancestors, like endurance, being able to go through all these hard times and even some good times, but still be able to say, I won't give up, right? So that there's a sense of pride when I think about my great aunt and how she used what she knew and definitely made a difference. The other side is you start to see, specifically as African Americans in this land, the system that exists that takes advantage while others benefit, but the people who were directly tied to these things would suffer. So there's mixed feelings there. I think there's mixed feelings. Overall, you're never, I don't believe we want to never be in a place where we are ashamed because of the things we went through. But we try to stay focused and stay positive on the things she was able to do and her endurance and her strength and the things that she was able to accomplish, because she's not just the pancake queen or she's not just Aunt Jemima. There's so much more to her. She was part of Mount Olivet Baptist Church, the first Black church in Chicago that helped organize the movement to get women to be able to vote. So she's a philanthropist. She does a lot, and she's very well known. Yeah, yeah.
And as you think about her legacy, how do you feel that has impacted you personally in terms of like when you you touched on it a little, but I want to see if I can hear more about how do you think on a personal level,
Right.
how has her legacy, the things that she did, how she touched other lives, impacted you, and maybe how you pulled from that strength today, even in the pulpit as a minister.
Yeah, I think whenever I get to that place where things don't make sense or I believe things in my humanity or my experience, this human experience is unfair, I start to think about her. I start to think about how unfair her life would have been to be able to still go on and still do things of that nature. I start to think about how she wouldn't just stay silent, but then would become very vocal and be able to articulate not only her faith with the church, but also the rights of women all over this land. So when I think about it personally, I see myself in the position of not having an excuse, not producing an excuse, because if she could do it, I can do it. If she's able to push forward while still being a slave and do all these things, what's stopping me from being able to do it? So
that's a powerful legacy, though, in terms of, we think about the light bulb and its creator. We think about, because I was in the food industry, my last part of my career, towards the end, I spent a number of years at PepsiCo.
Okay.
And in senior management. And what I can say is that normally, when people invent things, their progeny, they generations later, they're just living as they say on the high horse, right? But that's not her case. As we kind of pivot towards the foundation,
right?
Tell me a little about what is the foundation doing to advance Nancy Green's legacy?
Yeah, the first thing we have to do is get back to awareness. She's just not a woman on a box. She's an individual. She was a mother, a sister. She was a real person. So the first thing is to make sure that this story never dies, and make sure that people are aware, struggles, things she was able to accomplish, things that she was able to do, and make sure that we're vocal and proud and transparent about the whole story. Not just about the good things, but the bad things too, and the challenging things as well, because it's a part of her, who she is. The second thing is to look at what we can look at, what things she was doing then, and say, what would she be doing today? So if we would look at how intentional she was in the church, being active in the church, if we would look at how intentional she was about organizing to make sure women would be able to vote, she would then we would look at her or deem her to be a person who's intentional about liberation for her people. And if that's in 2025, she would be intentional about education. So one of the things we want to do and are passionate about doing is providing scholarships, right? To being able to say, hey, we understand that everybody doesn't have the same walk in life and everybody does need help. How can we help? So that's part of our thing. The second thing is going to schools, allowing people to see a glimpse of what she would be doing. So what we do is we go to schools and then we make pancakes while telling the story and allowing the children to experience the full view of who Nancy Green was, as if they were at the World Fair. So we would make these pancakes and allow each kid to have this taste, but not just eating, but also experiencing her history, her legacy. So those are things that we're passionate about right now at the Nancy Green Foundation, is making sure her awareness, people know who she is, not just the Aunt Jemima, but Nancy Green as an individual, as a person, as somebody who never gave up. And another part is to be intentional about doing things in our community to make sure that the advancement of people is not so much above, but equal, that everybody has this fair shake because everybody was intentional about loving one another. Yeah.
Now, that's powerful. Now, as we kind of wrap things up,
Sure.
as you think about those, regardless of age,
Yeah.
race,
Yeah.
gender,
Yeah.
who seem to have and share common values with Nancy Green in terms of loving others and helping to change the lives of others, how could people then support or participate in the advancement of her legacy through the foundation? Well, how could we participate in with the foundation?
Sure. So you can go to theauntjemima.com and you'll see some information there. You'll be able to see my brothers and I. You'll be able to see the things that we're passionate about. You'll see how we're participating in things that we're doing in our community. But you also could be able to partner with us because you're able to give to a foundation, nonprofit, 100% working off of the donations of the people. But it's intentional about giving those donations back into the community. So the main thing is to go to there. We're also on social media, of course. You can go to the Aunt Jemima on Instagram and Facebook, and those are the ways you can keep up with us and see what we're doing. In fact, we got something coming up that's going to be on November here in partnership with Acts 2, which I think gives a huge connection to who Nancy Green was, because she was active in the church as well as with the community. So there's going to be a free breakfast that's going to be happening on November the 27th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And the Nancy Green Foundation is going to be sponsoring the pancakes and cooking the pancakes on site at 2001 Independence Parkway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pastor Marcus says it was a pleasure having this conversation with you, and thank you so much for enlightening us around this unique, special person in your family tree.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Nancy Green. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.